in California have different mandates as well. And so being able to comply at the state level and then at the local level becomes a lot more critical in California than it would be in some of your southern states. So, yeah, California is a beast, you know.
So, so okay, now as an employer, I'm gonna jump on the other side of the fence now. You work for me. Uh, the minimum wage, and I'm kind of confused on how that new minimum wage thing is. Is it $20 an hour for everybody that's working, or
Oh,
is it a different minimum wage over here? And because employees here, $20 an hour, that's minimum wage, and you got a boutique shop, and that's what you got to pay me. That's the starting point.
okay. Yeah, so no, the new minimum wage applies only to your restaurant industries, and then even more specifically to your major chain organizations. So that's going to be your McDonald's, your Taco Bells, the organizations that have national notoriety. A lot of times, what you'll run into, what I'm seeing is that the franchise owners are being affected the most because
That's what.
franchise owners usually buy in to the national franchise chain. And so they are kind of struggling with that new mandate. But your mom and pop, your local barbecue spot is, mom and pop. They aren't affected by that law. Your small business owner that has a small restaurant, they aren't affected by that mandate either. And so they just want to make sure that they follow the minimum wage in their county, in their local
So,
area.
so that is so unfair. I mean, because I used to own franchises. I owned restaurants. I owned
Hmm.
seven of them at one time,
Oh, wow.
and I could not fathom having to pay $20 an hour to the dishwasher. And so if I giving this guy $20 an hour and he's washing dishes, the manager's gonna want at least 30. You
Right.
know, I don't want to make the same thing the dishwasher's making, or the waitress, or the cook, or this or that. And you got all of these people, and the bottom line is $20 an hour for the low guy. So the high guy's got to be 25, 30, $35 an hour. And I'm only selling two five, in an hour, I may sell $300 worth of chicken, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it
So
definitely can. It definitely, I don't negate that it can be challenging, but I would kind of counter that with, as a franchise owner, you get that notoriety where your brand is kind of already known anyway. And so, um, that's kind
that
of an
don't matter.
advantage that you get. It's kind of an advantage that you get coming into the neighborhood as opposed to,
Yeah, but
husband
that
or
don't matter.
wife or
That don't
young
matter.
couple that have opened a restaurant in the neighborhood. And then here you come with your franchise, right? So I'm very passionate about our communities. I'm very passionate about our small business owners and people that are in actual communities being able to open businesses that are going to flourish. And so I personally would rather see, a mom and pop restaurant as opposed to a McDonald's, in our neighborhoods.
And I see, and I'm because I was a franchise owner, I'm so opposite of that
Mhm.
because I have a Taco Bell, and yeah, Taco Bell got a bunch of commercial, but there's a Del Taco next to me, there's a Burger King on the other side of me, there's a McDonald's behind me, there's a Popeyes, there's a Colonel Sanders, like all of these different places that are around me that I'm also competing with,
Sure.
and uh, and I got the highest payroll and not even worried about the guy that has the brick and mortar and the barbecue shop or the taco place next to me that's called Sam's or whatever it's called. I got guys on the streets that not paying no rent, opening up, selling food like crazy. They got a line, they got a table, they got all of this stuff out there, and they don't have HR problems. So I gotta pay HR. I gotta because if I got a franchise, I gotta have an HR department. I gotta have a rule. I gotta have this. I gotta have that. Now if I'm just a single owner, okay, I can get around. I can hire somebody like you to do HR every now and then and kind of keep up with it. But there's a guy on the corner that ain't got nothing,
Right.
ain't got permit, They got no HR problem. How do an HR person like you, because I'm in a community, because we talk about our communities, I'm in a community that has that has those. So how would you as an HR person help? Because there are more taco grill places on the corner
Sure.
this year than there've been in the past, and they're doubling up and they're doubling down. Are the rules the same for this guy as they are for the independent guy? Is there for the guy that owns the franchise that they think has a lot of money and he's just struggling, you know? Because the franchise or is taking 7.25% no matter what happens.
Hmm.
And the franchisee is paying rent, light, gas, water, employees, payroll, workers' comp, da 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 da. You
Right.
know, how is, because you're an HR person. People are the most expensive thing that you can have in any
Oh,
business.
oh yeah. They are the most expensive commodity that you can have, but they are also the most productive. So one of the things that I like to really press upon business owners is the increased or the heightened ability for you to actually scale your business through your human capital strategy. So one of the things you want to do as a business owner is you definitely want to make sure that every role, every position that you have within your organization, either directly or indirectly, turns a profit for you, right? And so what you don't want to do is look at your employees as an expense, but rather as an investment, right? Because you are investing in people that are going to carry out the goals, missions, and vision of yours, right? Because you're a business owner, you started this business, this is your vision, right? So what you're doing is investing in people that are going to actually bring that vision to life, that they're going to scale that vision for you so that it becomes more than what you originally thought of. So if we can reposition how we look at the human resources or the people that we use as more of an investment rather than expense, then we learn how to really use our human capital to scale our businesses and to grow.
Okay, so now, how do you help the business owner? Because I got what you said. Now I've invested time in you. I've trained you. I've got you ready. But I'm talking about how my business is growing with you. We're excited. We're excited. And you call me one day. You go, I think I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna go down the street because you taught me so much. I've
Right,
learned so much, and I'm ready to go. I'm
right.
ready to get out here. I'm the deacon in the church, and I got a bunch of your messages in my pocket, and I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna start West Angeles Sidewalk Church, and I'm gonna do this. And I learned how to fry chicken with you, and I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna open up my own chicken shack. Now, as an employer, can I maybe have a contract? Is that legal from your standpoint that I say, okay, you can't leave me for 5 years?
Right.
Because I'm going to business and I'm investing in you. And I don't want to invest my time and my money and my energy in this. And we get right where we get ready to go. And you say, see ya. Wouldn't want
Sure.
to be you.
Sure. So here's what I'm going to say is that one, no, you can't do that because the FCC just had a new ruling related to non-competes, right? So what they're saying is that you cannot like discourage or put into contract with your workers that they cannot go out and start their own businesses or they can't compete with you in a business that is similar to yours. What you can do is protect your intellectual property. And so a lot of times what you're going to do that, how you're going to do that is through confidentiality type of agreements through your clauses that have to do with disclosing the information, the information, the proprietary information of the company, right? So you can protect your proprietary information without restricting other entrepreneurs from going into their ventures. But one of the things I would really like to impress upon is really kind of repositioning that thought in your mind also, right? Because your next business owner actually becomes your partner, right? Because we see a lot of business to business interactions and operations. So who is to say that that employee that you have invested in that has gained this wealth of knowledge from working under you for 10 or 15 years and they venture out to go do their own thing, that there is not opportunity for there to be another stream of income through a partnership with that person. So I always say, and this is kind of the minister in me, I'm an ordained minister also, that what God has for you is for you. And nobody can kind of take that away, or nobody can hop in place of what God has for you. So I would think that we would want to look at our fellow entrepreneurs as partners out there. We're all doing a service to service our communities that we're in, and to service the areas that we're in. And a lot of times there are so many opportunities for that business to business partnership where you're able to
Now I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had tons of different types of businesses,
love it.
and it's always been a painful thing when for me. And I like what you're trying to say, but I'm from the management side,
Mhm.
and I want to have a way so that we are able to move forward. But if I've spent my time and I've invested in you 6 months, 90 days, 5 years, whatever it may be, and you, not us, decided to go this way, which is great. Okay. But look at all the time that I've invested. Or let's say I bring in a secretary and I spend just 5 weeks in training this person, and that person decides, no, I don't feel that. Now I got to train all over again. The time invested for the owner that investors into the employee, and I'm trying to get the human resource, the legal people, or whatever the people is, to say, I need a binding agreement. Say, you can't leave me, Lucille, at least for 12 months, because I don't want to train you, get you ready, and then you just say, I'm gone. And
Well,
all
well,
of that time and effort that I spend, because now I got to get somebody else. I got to hire somebody new, and I got to go through all of that training again.
sure.
And then 3 months later, that person is gone. And because this is what restaurants deal with, especially franchises. People come, they go, they go, they go, they come, they stay 8, 9 months or whatever it is, and you're always constantly training. So as a human resource person, do you offer beginning training for employees with the handbook? Do you go in and talk to the new people, that kind of thing, to help to see if it's a good fit? Because most business owners don't know that you're a good fit. I like you, you
Right,
sound cool,
right,
you go to church,
right,
I seen you on the third row, so we cool, come on in, I'm gonna give you a job. And you find out that person don't, well, I can't lift boxes. What? But
right.
we're a box company, didn't you know we was a box company? Or how do you, I
So,
need that agreement.
well, we probably aren't going to be able to get to that agreement. But what I will tell you is that there is something that you can do. Like, let's say you're a business owner, you've been in business for 10 years, and you have an employee that is a very strategic part of your operations. The loss of that person would be, impactful, right? You can move from the at will employment stage, and you can move into contracted employment. So basically, what you would do is give that employee, you would negotiate, and maybe you have a 3 or 5 year contract where for the next 3 to 5 years, I can guarantee you your job, right? A lot of business owners don't want to go in that way because what it does is it removes the at will clause, which says that you have the right to separate or separate from employment for any reason as long as it's not an illegal reason. So there is that side where you can create those contracts with those employees that have become more like business partners within the organization. So that would be the first thing that I would say. And then I would say you probably don't want to do that with an employee that has not proven themselves to be as valuable as you need them to be. So maybe someone that's been there for 6 months, you don't kind of offer them an employment contract, but you are able to make those type of contracts with employees. You just want to make sure that those contracts are spelled out and that you don't leave it open indefinitely, but that you actually put terms in there. So maybe we'll renew this employment contract annually, or maybe in your contract you'll renew it every 3 years, right? So you do want to leave yourself that wiggle room to be able to separate, because one of the risks of doing something like that is that if for some reason your business fails, you may still be on the hook for that person's salary throughout the term of their contract. right?
Okay, like the NFL, Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what you get in the protections of the at will, is that at will means that if my business is not going well, I can lay you off. With an employee that you have an employment contract with, if the business is not going well, you may not necessarily be able to lay them off and not pay them.
Okay. Now here's my other thing. Let's say we do a contract. Now, as an employer, if we have a contract, does that mean I'm 1099 in you
No,
now?
no.
Okay.
This is still a employee that is
Employee relationship. Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So you're still giving them the same benefits, and you're still paying the payroll taxes on them. All that stuff you don't do with the 1099, but they are a contract employee. So basically, what that does is it removes that at will status, so that they are no longer an at will employee. They are now a contract employee.
Okay. So now, let's say I'm gonna go from that, and we're gonna hire your company, and we're gonna 1099 you. Okay. Now, as a 1099 person, because I'm always arguing with the IRS and other people about this, as a 1099 person, you are XYZ company, and I've hired you as a plumber or whatever to come in and fix whatever I needed fixed. But now I like your where you fix things. So I have a couple of buildings. Let's 1099 you, but I need to tell you to go do this building, go do that building, do this one on Wednesday, do that one on Thursday. Can I do that and 1099 you, or have you come in, put a desk there and say, okay, you work from here now. You can still do side jobs, but you my main handyman, let's say. So you're my handyman guy, and I can pick up the phone and call you, or I can request that you stay on site uh, for whatever length of time I need you to be. Can I do that without having to pay workers' comp and payroll taxes and all of those other things that come with that $20 an hour, which actually makes it $24 an hour?
Absolutely not, sir. That is not something that you want to do, especially in California. That's what we the talk show is Strictly Business. That would be considered risky business, right? Because what you don't want to do is misclassify employees. So there was just an update to the employment status mandates that kind of dictates those roles of whether someone is an actual employee or 1099. And so what it's looking at is five different criteria that make up that employer worker uh, agreement. And if you are anywhere in those five categories, and it has to do with whether or not you're controlling the coming and goings of that employee, whether or not you are supplying them the resources and the tools to actually do their job. And then if it's the same type of business, or the nature of their business is similar to the nature of your business, then that person is more than likely going to be viewed as an employee rather than a contractor. Those type of grievances or lawsuits come with heavy price tags, and then they also have your tax implications. So the IRS is coming after you, and then you're probably in jeopardy of FSLA. So you could end up paying, different type of fees because you have a
In, in
national.
your experience, in your experience, do you find that most small businesses kind of operate like that? They call it under the table.
Right.
Okay, pay me under the table because I got Social Security, I got my workers' comp, I got this, I'm on disability, and I'm willing to come in. I ain't got to move no boxes, but I can sit here and I can enter stuff in the computer all day long. So, and there are so many online positions now, and there are so many people working from home. Is
Sure.
working from home now an independent contractor, or is working from home, can working from home be either way? Because you don't come in, I send you your stuff in the email, which pretty much means you do it when you get ready, because you're at home. When you finish taking a load of laundry out of the washer, or you put, loading the dishwasher, then you go and send the emails that I asked you for. So can that now be into the independent person contractor, or is that still an employee with a W-2?
That's still going to be your employee with the W-2. I would believe, because it really depends on what is your agreement with that worker upon their hire, and then also what are you having them do? How are you having them do it? How are you paying them? Right? Because and then do you have a contract? So all of those things you want to really kind of look at to see if those things are in order to make the determination of whether or not that employee is a contractor or a W 2. But what I would say is that as we see the increase in remote work, that doesn't necessarily mean that the employee is 1099 or they're able to do or complete the task when they want to, right? Most of them, especially if you're giving someone hours, if you're giving someone hours, like time of day where they're supposed to be working, and then more than likely you're not going to be able to get away with that 1099 classification,
Okay.
right?
All
And
right.
so, and then you also want to be mindful of, and I know this happens a lot in small businesses, which is paying people, under the table. But really, what you're doing is circumventing the law, right? Because most cities require that you pay some type of tax for your services or product to the cities that you're in, and that's very important because that contributes to the economic stability of your community, right? And so, as business owners, we want to be responsible and make sure that we are actually following the mandates of the law and that we are actually paying those taxes into our cities the way that we should be. That the small business owner is kind of like your laborer in your big factories or your big organizations, right? They are the backbone, and so it's very important that we have, especially in the Black community, that we have Black business owners that are not circumventing the law, but that they are actually creating businesses that actually grow and scale, and that they're creating jobs in their communities. They're creating resources, right? You want to be a solution in your community, right? And so you also want to be able to do that on a larger scale and pay your taxes as you're doing it, because those tax dollars go back into your community, right? So
The guy gets mad. The guy with the store gets very, very angry. Very, very angry because he's paying taxes. He's taxed up the yang yang. He's taxed with his
absolutely,
employee payroll taxes. He's taxed on his insurance. He's taxed on his refrigerating costs. He's taxed on all of these different things. And he has a brick and mortar. And there's a brother down the street here on the corner from me that ain't paying no taxes.
right.
That is working, and the line at his spot is longer than the line at my spot.
You love that line. You keep going back to the line, though.
So, that which means that I'm not selling as many hamburgers as he's selling, and he's not paying hardly anything. I had to spend $600 to get my building sprayed so I don't have roaches, and he's outside where the roaches is.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, how does the city that I'm supporting, that you say I'm supposed to be helping, how does that city help the business person that's in business, that's paying all these fees? Now, I'm not trying to sweep the people off the street that's making
Sure.
money, because they're making money. They have employees, they have people, they got things. They had to buy the chicken that I had to buy, but they selling the chicken $1 cheaper than I'm selling the chicken, because I got to be $1 higher because I got rent like gas. So how does the city, from a human resource department, help to keep these two from being against each other, so to speak?
Right. So really, I would say as a business owner, one of the benefits that comes with that is your voice kind of matters a little bit more, right? So I probably would write letters to your zoning and planning in your city and kind of talk about those areas, and maybe at the public meetings that they have, you're able to go in and kind of voice your opinion, so that zoning and licensing, as they're looking at these things, maybe you create a zone where that's where those type of businesses are able to kind of commingulate, right? So I think that being active in the community, especially for Black business owners in whatever community that you're in, whatever county that you're in, you want to be as active as you can in your chamber, your Black Chamber of Commerce, and then also with your city. How is your city handling businesses? How is your city making sure, helping to ensure that you're going to be successful, right? Because with those tax dollars that you're paying to be able to operate your business, you also have one of the things that we have here in, um, the United States is we also have the ability to vote. We have the ability to mandate how some of these things, how we want to be governed, right? And so being active in your local city government really becomes more important to you as a business owner as your businesses begin to grow and flourish.
And I believe you just said a full thing, because this is an election year.
Absolutely.
We
Oh,
need to be
absolutely.
able to, we as a people, black and brown people, need to get more involved in the city politics, the city planning, the city, and have a voice to say what needs to go on. So changes were made 20, 30 years ago by protest and these type of things.
Absolutely.
And when I look around at the different cities, and we are literally, the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce is literally from the desert to the sea. And I look around at cities, we may have some black mayors, but when I look around at the people that participate in the city council meetings and make things go forward, we are lacking. Uh, Here in one of the cities here in San Bernardino, I don't think on the city council they have no black representation anymore. So we need to be able to get more young people into politics and understand how it works, and even in voting, because we have a school here. We're getting ready to do a commercial here about our school and program, and it's a lot of times people don't believe that their vote counts, that their vote matters, and we need to, as older or mid-class adults, explain to these young people that your vote does matter,
Oh,
that you
yeah.
need to get out, you need to run for office. We need some senators and congress people and even local council and city mayors and even city planning people. We need people that look like us, that can speak for us in the room. Not that other people are not speaking for us, but we just need to be sure of it. My name is Rich Wallace. This is Strictly Business, and we're on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Friday mornings, and we're part of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce and Youth Build. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to change your life? Let us help you. At Youth Build Charter School, you can get a high school diploma and kickstart your dream career in no time. We offer high school diploma programs in construction, CNA, military, college, and entrepreneurship. If you are between the age of 16 and 24 and you want to manage your studies with a job, recover your credits, or graduate early, we can help you achieve your dream. Call us at 1-888-395-4408 or visit youthbuildinlandempire.org.
Sorry, I got a tow truck outside. I locked my keys in my car, so we may have
Oh,
to wrap this up and finish it tomorrow. Hey, and we're live, that's how things go. This is Rich Wallace, and we have our guest on, human resource business person. Tell us a little bit about you again, the process, what you do, how you help small business, and I'm gonna go see the tow truck. Okay.
okay, sure.
All right.
So basically, what I do is I have a 877 HR Help You line that caters to your workers as well as your businesses. So we take one-time calls, or we also offer subscription packages for our services. And our services are built really to be affordable, right? One of the things that I have noticed through working with my local Black Chamber of Commerce here in Fresno is that we're looking for ways to be a resource to our Black business owners. And unfortunately, one of the things that I found is that HR really becomes last on the list, right? When you're doing your hirings, HR really becomes last on the list. And a lot of times that's because business owners don't really, and a lot of people just really don't understand what is HR, what is the purpose of HR, right? And so what HR does is actually HR allows you to be able to sustain, right? A lot of times what happens with small businesses and why a lot of them aren't actually first flourishing, or they start and then they stop, is not necessarily because of their business or their marketing strategy, but a lot of times they get hit with some of the things that we were talking about before, which is, they get hit with an employee who they were using as a contractor at one point, and then that employee turns around and sues them and says, no, I wasn't actually a contractor, I was an employee, right? And so those come with heavy fines, they come with heavy penalties. And a lot of times, if you're a business owner that is not does not have the profits to be able to sustain those type of lawsuits, it can really kind of put you out of business. Or let's say you're a business owner and you find yourself in some type of grievance through either one of the governing bodies, and you are found at fault, and then you have to use your hopefully you have insurance, right? Then you have to use your insurance to kind of cover the cost of that lawsuit or the cost of that grievance, right? Like your regular insurance, your car insurance, once you use it, those premiums go pretty sky high. And so a lot of times, based on just the operating cost and the increased cost of those insurances, businesses go out, small businesses go out of business or close their doors, right? And so what HR is going to do is we're going to be able to ensure that you stay within the mandates that are required of you as an employer in the city that you're in. So, and then also one of the things that HR is able to do is they're able to actually strategically put together a effective human capital strategy that is going to allow you to actually use your human capital as a strategy or as a resource to scale and grow your business, right? And so a lot of times what I see with small business owners, what they do is that they wear too many hats, right? They wear too many hats, and a lot of times they are the most knowledgeable or the smartest person in the room that they're in, right? And so what that does is it actually stifles innovation, and it stifles the ability to bring in new ideas, bring in new work processes and workflows, because the only thing that you're using to kind of figure these things out is what you know, right? And so one of the things you want to do is strategically look for people that are going to assist you or that you're going to invest in that are going to assist the company with actually meeting those different requirements that are necessary for their business operation, and then for their business operation to move from one level to the next. So that's really, in a nutshell, kind of how human resources can be used as a strategic business partner to assist with moving forward towards, scalability, sustainability, and growth. So I think it's really important that that small business owners get a better idea of the services that are offered through HR. And one thing about our HR helpline, I came up with the idea, or I thought of the idea, because I was running into a lot of small business owners that would call me and they would have questions, and they would want answers to questions. But when it would come to talking about actually being able to utilize my services and retain my services, there was that, those budgetary restraints. So the HR helpline was actually developed as a resource to specifically small business owners. And so that's kind of hard, is because we really want to cater towards small businesses, especially. I'm very passionate about our minority communities, and making sure that we understand the social impact of small businesses on our communities and our culture as a whole and at large. And so, as business owners, we kind of have a responsibility to make sure that we're at least aware of the social impact that is obtained through following the laws and the mandates that are required for the employer-employee relationship. Because those mandates, those laws, what those mandates and laws say is that as a society, or as in this county, we have decided this is how we want our employees to be treated. This is how we want our people in our community to be treated, right? And so there's really a social impact to that, because when you have businesses that are operating outside of those mandates, what happens is it filters out into the community. And so the community is less happy. the community is less engaged, right? And so for me, as a small business owner, that's one of the things that I'm really particularly I pay a lot of attention to is how am I impacting businesses so that they are able to make a stronger impact on their employees and then ultimately on our culture as a whole. So one of the things that I like to teach business owners is what I call the C2A model, which is connect, cultivate, and ask, right? As an employer, you want to connect with your employees. You want to engage them. Sometimes you do this through talent acquisition, through the interviewing process and the vetting. And then you want to cultivate. So by cultivating them, what you're going to do is, um, what you're going to do and what you're required to do is let them know what the mandates are and what their rights are as an employee in your company in the county that you're in. And then you want to ask them. So you want to ask them by giving them clear expectations of how it is that you expect for them to operate in the business and where they fit in that vision and that business model, right? And so as a small business owner, if you can excel at the C2A model, which is connect, cultivate, and act, then you should be able to have really real success through using your human capital as a strategy to scaling your business.
You are a great co-host.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, and retaining employees, is that kind of a good thing? I used to work for a guy, and his idea of that was get them in, keep them for a year, get rid of them, and get some new people.
Mhm.
And his philosophy was that the longer they stay, the more increased finances you're going to have to pay that employee.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and they're pretty much doing the same job. They might be doing it a little bit better, but because you've been here 3, 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, I got to give you a couple of extra dollars every other year or whatever it is to keep you. And his philosophy was, I don't want to keep you
Right.
because, and it was sales. So selling is selling is selling. But, if, and I was so upset with him. He said, well, get rid of these people and let's hire 2 more people. I said, well, I got to train those people. He said, well, that's what I pay you for, train them. And his philosophy was that, get them in, keep them for a year, get them excited, and then allow them to move on. Kind of like fast food places used to be, because
True.
those restaurants were actually not designed to feed families on, which is my big struggle with that. Is that these places were designed for college students or people that lived at home with parents and these kinds of things. And now those jobs are being filled with people that have to support families. So that's why they're $20 an hour. They need to make more money. But this is not that type of a job, because most places don't sell $20 worth of food in 1 hour.
Right. Right.
Most places, you
Yeah.
know. So you get the few restaurants, and even the big chain sit down restaurants, they're empty on Monday and Tuesdays. So they may have a crowd at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, but they've gone 6 hours with 9 people there and sold one dinner.
Right.
So all of those things kind of play in the action. But
Yeah.
as a business owner, I want to be able to. I like what you say about keeping them, contracting them, because for a business, we own a small print shop here, and we have a school and some other things here on campus. It's good for me because to retrain a person on these big copy machines and all that kind of stuff takes time and energy. So I'd like to keep a person, but that person is just really pushing the button. The machine's doing all the work. So
But then I would counter that and kind of play devil advocate and say that you're limited to what that person knows and how they're able to elevate or innovate in their position. So I actually I agree with the philosophy of bring them in and move them out, right? And I say that because as you bring in new people and you're training them on your system, if you hire right, that person is probably going to be inquisitive. They want to know why certain things are happening the way that they're happening, and that's really where your innovation comes from. And that's why diversity is so important, right? Is because as cultures, even though we try to act like we're all the same, we know culturally we all behave differently, right? And so you want to have a diverse group of employees that are going to give you a diverse perspective of that one action item that you're doing. So one of the ways that you actually can scale your business in is to be able to have that model where you aren't holding on to employees like they're mine and I've invested and I need you to be here, right? But actually to see the opportunity in bringing someone else in new, right? Maybe as someone exits, now this is your time where you can kind of restructure that role and what that person is actually doing, right? And you can do that because now the role is open. And so you can sit down and kind of strategically look at, okay, what was this person doing? What didn't they need to be doing? Or what more can they be doing, right? And so I would say, and again, I go back to the idea that if you invest in your employees, they will invest in you. But also, as they are ready to go and as they are in your organization, it's so important that you do that continuous development of your employees. That's so important because, one, you want your employees to leave your organization better than what they came in, which means that if they were kind of a good, okay manager and when they came in and they didn't have much experience and they've been with your organization for 3 years now, they should be excelling at managing, planning, organizing, right? So that as they leave your organization to go to the next one, you've actually helped that person get to the next stage of whatever their career path is. And then you have the opportunity to do it all over again with the person that comes in.
I love the way you say it. You have the opportunity
The
to do it
opportunity to do
all
it all
over
over
again
again.
and
It's
again.
repositioning your thought processes behind that, Mr. Wallace.
And I got that. I got that.
They're
You got to
able to
renew
watch
your
it.
mind to make
Yes.
things change. Okay. And let's talk about that for a second. Renewing your mind and renewing how you live in today's environment with TikTok, TikTok, and all of these different things that are out there. And now we are doing some training here at Youth Power Community Solutions here at our campus on energy. Uh, Repairing of the machines that they put out, what do they call them, the EV machines that charge the electric cars. So the
Oh,
electric chargers are going out. They don't have enough people to know how they work. The same thing with the electric cars. They're so new, none of the mechanics that I know are going to touch one of them. You
right.
know, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the tools, but we're moving in that environment. We're moving into an environment where the retail clerks union used to be one of the strongest unions around. And if you were a checker, you could make $30, $40 an hour working at the grocery store, checking in, checking people out, these kinds of things. Then they got machines to do that.
Right.
So these people will be gone pretty soon. Pretty soon, not only will you be ringing up your own groceries, putting them in a bag, taking them home, you will be doing all of that like you in the warehouse grocery store or whatever it is. And so, how are those people now retrained, reprogrammed through what you do? Because they need to go to work, and what they know how to do, they don't do anymore. So as young people come around, we have a school here, and we take in young people from 16 to 30 to get their high school diploma. But we've added some trade components to it because the high school diploma doesn't get you very far anymore, and even the college degree, because they don't need you to drive a forklift anymore. They got machines to do that. You
Right.
know,
Right.
they don't need you to check out the groceries anymore. They got machines to do that. So
Right.
how are we as a people? We need to know how to work the machines, and how is human resources going to always be a thing that people will need. And I like the fact that you work with the employee as opposed to just the employer,
Right.
because the employee is lost.
Mm-hmm.
He don't know what to do. And
Right.
every time someone gets into a little situation with their employer, the first thing they say is, I'm gonna sue them.
Mm-hmm.
What can you sue for as an
Right.
employee? You can sue for misconduct. Can you sue me because now I got your pronouns wrong? Because now we got a pronoun situation. And we
Right.
got this
Right.
situation to worry about, and I'm trying to pay the rent, and I got to remember to call you, them, they, and I'm confused on how that fits in to the workplace. And
Sure.
now you had to be fair with black and brown people. Now I got to be fair with black, brown, and people that have changed to something else. So, and I don't know, I just want to get somebody to fry the chicken, you know.
So
What am I to do?
right. So that would be something that you could find yourself in a little bit of hot water over, and you could be sued if you are not using someone's proper pronouns in California, right? And so it becomes important. It becomes that much more important for business owners to not necessarily know these laws themselves inside and out, but have access to resources that can guide them in these areas, right? Because one of the things that I have found through networking with other HR consultants and leaders is that there's a fundamental lack of understanding how certain mandates apply in the average everyday workplace scenario, right? For instance, with discrimination, a lot of times people think that discrimination is something that's bad and they're doing something against the employee, but you can actually discriminate somebody against somebody and you think you're doing them a favor, right? I had a situation where there was an older gentleman who was mid 60s, and he was continuously scheduled to work at 6 a.m. And this man did not like 6 a.m. He did not want to get up at 6 a.m. And his supervisor's rationale, which is why it's important that as an HR person you ask questions, but his rationale was, well, he's a little older and we have younger guys and they stay out at night. And so, I want him to work this shift because he's reliable and he comes in, right? And then because we're in Fresno, his other point was, by midday it's super hot, and because he's older, I want him to be able to come in at work and be home by 2:30 so that he's out of the heat, right?
In my
So
favor.
good. It sounds good, but you cannot do that. That's called discrimination, even though you think that you're doing in the best interest of the person. And I understand Fresno heat, right? But
Yeah.
but if somebody is over 45 and you're making decisions based on their age, you are breaking the law.
Ooh. So you can't have the old people come in early because they
No,
get
you
up early.
can't. So understanding this is why it's very important that you have a strong HR person that's advising you as well, is because you have to be able to look at workplace situations that are happening in real time and be able to apply the mandate to that situation, right? And sometimes things that seem like, to me, it seemed nice. Like, yeah, it's an older guy, gets off at 2:30, but when you talk to the employee, he didn't like that. And the supervisor's rationale for doing it was illegal, right? So that's where it becomes important to understand how different mandates apply to actual workplace scenario situations. And your average operations manager, your average office manager, your average business owner doesn't necessarily have the training or skill to be able to make those assessments. But in small businesses and nonprofits as well, they do it often. And people find themselves in hot water and kind of sticky situations because they don't have that person that has been trained in these areas in their organizations to help guide them.
Okay. Now let's talk about the business person.
Having HR help you, that's one of the things that we'll be able to do.
I'm an HR nightmare.
I'm sure you are.
I am absolutely a HR nightmare. I
You can
am.
always subscribe to one of our business packages where
Tell me about the business package. Tell me about how that business package works.
So with our business package, what it does is gives you unlimited access to our consultant line. So as an unsubscribed member or say unlimited member, what you would be able to do is call as HR things are happening and speak with your HR representative and ask them, hey, how's the best way that I can handle this, right? And then with that package, what we also offer is your actual documentation of that call. A lot of times what happens with small business owners is they aren't documenting what's happening, why they're making the decisions that they're making. And so with your mandates, what they basically say is if an employee can prove certain criteria, then that criteria says more likely than not you have violated their rights. And then you as the owner have the right to rebut it by saying, well, it looks like that, but this is why I made that decision. But you can't just say that. You want to actually have that documented, right? And that's where a lot of times they fail, because in the HR world, in the labor compliance world, if you don't document it, it didn't happen, right? And so that's one of the things that our service will offer is, as you make those calls, we're going to send you documentation of the call, what the issue was, and what our advice was to you. And so you'll receive those after the calls. In addition to that, we also offer professional development training with 1-hour seminars to your leaders that are in your organization. So maybe you're the owner and you do the HR management, you handle the HR matters. Or maybe you have an operations manager that has no HR experience. With that unlimited package, every month you would be able to log in and participate in our live webinars, which means you would be able to ask questions about the material that's being discussed. And so we do a lot of conflict resolution. How do you resolve conflicts in the workplace, right? How do you make determinations on accommodations, right? Because you have to accommodate people that have certain types of disabilities. So how do you make those accommodations and how do you make those determinations? These are the type of trainings that we're going to give you through that unlimited subscription plan on the monthly basis.
Okay, now the employer, I got to make accommodations for you. I got to pay employee benefits to you. I got to pay employee insurance. I got to pay taxes. I got to have workers' comp. And I got to do all of this for you and the other people. All right. Now I'm going to swip over because you told me you was a church lady or a pastor or something. I remember saying that. So I'm going to switch over to the church people or the nonprofit. Let's go that route. Let's say I got volunteers. I run the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce from the desert to the sea. We have a lot of volunteers. I need to get rid of one of them. He's just not volunteering. So I don't have a HR mindset. So I said, call him up. Yo, bro, you done. See you want to see you. It's volunteer. He's not an employee. He comes and he cleans the building or moves the chairs or helps us get set up for their special event or these kinds of things. Because I've been sued before because a volunteer went to go get some ice and had a car accident, and people sued me because she was on the way to get some ice, and I didn't even ask her to go get the ice. So, and I never got the ice, and I lost $10,000 on my insurance policy. I had to get a new one. It was just crazy. So volunteers now, do volunteers have to sign an HR or some kind of agreement or something because they're volunteer? And churches have a lot of volunteers usually.
Sure.
So, but you got Sister Sarah that's always coming complaining. She never bring the green beans when she say she gonna bring the green beans, and you just need to get rid of her because she in the way. Blah blah blah. Can she sue me, or can she get? Does she have an HR claim or anything like that? Being a volunteer,
it's possible.
Oh.
And this is why is because your employment laws, right, are actual civil torts. So civil torts, and when all business owners, I always say Google what a civil tort is, right?
Because I'm going to ask what that is. Okay.
So what your civil torts do is they allow people, just regular people, if you violate their rights, right? If you violate their rights, then they have the ability to sue you civilly. That's basically what.
Well, time out. You say violate their right. What right they got? They volunteers.
So, let's say that person is older and they feel like you've discriminated against them because they're an older volunteer. Or
if I say to you, Ms. Holmes, you old, don't pick up the box. Let me let the young people do it, because churches do that a lot. Let's get the young people involved because the older people sitting here. Now, I called you old in front of the young people.
Right.
But I called a bunch of y'all old. Right. And y'all are old, but I needed to get the young people. So am I violating your rights because,
No.
And you're a volunteer.
No. So that the magnitude does not rise to the level of an employee, right? So let's be clear with that first. The magnitude does not rise to the level of an employee. But there are some areas where you can venture into that take you into civil type of claims, right? So let's say that volunteer says that you're slandering them. You're talking about them. You're causing some type of damage or harm to their reputation in the community.
When I say Miss Holmes, she just got a divorce. Is that violating their rights?
No,
Okay.
I mean, you would want to make sure she really did just get divorced.
Okay. Yeah. You don't want to be like you don't want to be like some of the politicians. You don't want to be putting out false information.
No,
Okay.
you don't want to put out false information, right? So that's what I mean by you can move into your civil areas where there could be some liabilities and implications there. And then on top of that, you want to maintain your reputation, right? So if you have a volunteer that's not doing a great job and they're not really meeting up to your expectations, the best way that you're going to protect your reputation is to be able to have those real conversations with that volunteer and redirect them as best as possible, right? So maybe you reassign them to another area in your volunteer needs, right? But I always say, and I always tell nonprofits that if you have people that are passionate about your cause and they want to help, find a way to that relationship can benefit and be beneficially mutual, right? So sometimes it takes a little bit extra talking, but what you don't want to do is, as an organization, start offending people that are volunteering or offending people, because the first thing that they want to attack is your business or your organization. So you really want to protect your reputation by keeping in mind that there are those civil type of claims that could be brought against you or the organization, and then also protecting your reputation as a charitable community, and that just really doesn't look bad to be telling people you can't help us, right? Who doesn't want help?
And a lot of times the intent of the leader of whatever organization is, their intent is to help and to do good and to do the right thing to help
Right,
people get to where they want to go. But then there are some people, we all got cousins, there are some people that go in with the intent because they don't believe you're doing a great job. I know we're
right.
running out of time here, but I got to ask you about family members. Can I mistreat my cousin them when they work for me?
No, absolutely
Do his family is my daughter got the same rules as somebody that's not related to me because she's in here working for her dad, and we
not.
give her some money every now and then. I
True.
make sure her rent's paid, but she's not on the regular payroll because she family. How does that work with family and with the HR game? Or they just come in like everybody else and there's no specialty for them?
Right. So I would say as an HR, representative, that if you are bringing family members into your business, you want to make sure that you are treating them the same as everyone else, because you could find yourself in some type of grievance based on that favoritism and why it's perceived that that person is being given that favoritism, right? And so you want to make sure that that's very clear. And then also one of the things that I see in Black business, especially Black businesses, but in small businesses particular, is that you have family members that are working in your organization, but they don't actually have the skill set to be doing the job that you've given them. And so what that does is it actually lowers morale in the organization. It causes inner conflicts, and it really makes for a undesirable place for employees to want to work. So your turnover rate is probably going to be high, right? And then you're not going to have as much collaboration as you need against with the different departments for them to actually make an impact on what it is that they're trying to achieve. So I would say if you have a family member that you've hired, one, treat them the same, and two, make sure they have the skill set for the job that you've given to them.
Now, when I had my restaurants, now 4 boys, I just when I bought them, I just automatically put 3 of them in charge.
Oh,
Okay, you the manager, you the manager, you the manager. Right away, just did that just like that. Not even knowing I hadn't even met any of the employees at the restaurant when I did that.
right,
But they now my stores. These is my boys. I'm gonna put them in charge. So there were people that because a lot of times restaurants or other businesses that are sold or transacted, and employees don't know what's going on. You just look up one day and there's a whole new owner,
right,
especially in the franchise game. There's a whole new person in charge, and that's his sister over there doing this, and his cousin come in here doing that, and there's a new person, and wait a minute, I've been working here for 15 years.
Right.
So this kind of, I mean, this is a live situation that happened to me. You know,
Right.
had people that been there 20, 15, 16 years. And I'm thinking, why are you at this restaurant for 15 years? You should have left a long time ago. But, and I immediately, and I knew I was into HR problem. So eventually I got rid of all those people that had been there a long term. And I allowed them to hire their other people. I have completely run out of time. You got to come back. You got to come back.
Okay.
We got to talk
I
again.
enjoyed it.
We got to
I
talk
definitely
again.
enjoyed it.
And I got to get off the air now because the red light's flashing. So this is Rich Wallace. This is an episode of Strictly Business. We had an HR conversation going on here. I try to save y'all some money. I try to keep you out of trouble. And this lady here, can you put your email, say your email out or your phone number real quick here?
Oh, so well,
How do I get a hold of you?
So I'm gonna send you my number directly, but the HR helpline number is 1-877 HR help you. Literally, that's the number. So if you dial that number, if you go to that, we also have a website with the same number. If you go to the website, you'll be able to get in contact with us, and we'll be able to get you set up.
Okay, and join the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce. Please join. It's only $200 a year. You can wind up on this show, or you can wind up in our newsletter that we put out every month. Thank you so much for being a part of Strictly Business, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Good news for the Southern California business community. Now you can add your business to the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce Business Directory complimentary. We have been working tirelessly to build a list of Black-owned enterprises in Southern California. This is an excellent way for you to be a part of an expansive network and find your ideal customers, business partners, and vendors. So don't waste time. Visit blackchamberofcommerce.org today